Hello everyone, I hope you're well. This is Mr. Stone. Today I'd like to talk you through a revision process and revision ideas that you may want to use as you prepare for your upcoming RE exams. We're going to be focused on how to revise independently. Some of you have been asking about ways to revise, so I hope this video answers your questions and gives you lots of ideas to try at home. Now, the first point to make clear is that it doesn't necessarily matter which strategy or which activity you use. The most important aspect of your revision is that you make progress. Every session counts. That means you need to identify the goal of your revision, the long-term goal, and that each time you sit down to revise, you get a step closer to achieving that goal. So you may want to pause the video if you haven't already and identify and write down the goal that you would like to achieve in RE. That may be a particular grade if you're not there already. That may be to improve your content knowledge in a certain area, if you know that you have a particular weakness. That may be to develop your skills in evaluation, writing the 12-mark questions. So whatever your long-term goal is, have that clear in your mind as you conduct your revision sessions. The most important thing is that your revision time is effective and productive and working towards your goals. That will obviously mean different things to different people. So ensure that you do what works best for you. So you take the aspects from this video that work best for you and you give it a go. But ensure every session, every time you sit down to revise, you're working towards and you're developing your skills and your knowledge in RE. And that at the end of the day, these things are helping you remember what you need to remember for the exam. So in that regard, I want to show you this revision session plan. You may want to use this when you sit down and revise. It takes between 50 minutes and an hour. So you may want to split this up. You may want to do it all in one go. So this is how I would recommend you schedule your revision time. So in the first perhaps 2 to 15 minutes, you would complete an exam question from memory. So no notes in front of you, no textbook, no notes. You would find an exam question on the topic you previously revised. So think about the topic you revised last week or yesterday, and then you would answer an exam question from memory. So remember, when you answer exam questions, to use the appropriate timing. So have the question up in front of you and then set yourself a timer for the right amount of time. So if it's a 2-mark question, 2 minutes, that's it. If it's a 5-mark question, stop writing after 5 minutes and see how you get on. If it's a 12-mark question, stop writing after 15 minutes, because in the exam, that's the total amount of time you're going to get. So do your timings properly. But the first thing I would recommend you do is that you do a blind exam question. So no notes, see what you can do straight off the bat. Then the next thing you do is you would mark that answer. So use the marking criteria from the exam spec or that your teacher might have given you, and it's available on the AQF website, and it's also on the following slide. So you may want to pause the video and take a screenshot of the marking criteria, which I'm about to show you. And if that doesn't work and you're still a little bit confused, of course, you can always send your answer to your teacher. Send it to me and we'll mark it for you, and then we'll give your feedback. So that might take away that little bit of time there and you can move on. So before we go through the rest of the revision session plan, I want to show you the marking criteria. So this is the marking criteria in the box at the bottom there for a 4-mark question. Now the criteria is always the same, doesn't matter what the question is. Could be a question on Islam beliefs like this one in front of us. Could be a question on Christianity beliefs, practices, paper 2. The criteria is always the same. You're going to get 2 marks for a detailed explanation of a relevant and accurate point or influence, and then you're getting another 2 marks for your second detailed explanation of a relevant and accurate point or influence. You have to make sure you're answering the question. So the question asks you to explain 2 religious beliefs or 2 influences or 2 teachings. Then as long as you're answering that question, you get your 2 marks and your 2 marks together. So the criteria for a 5-mark question is very similar. The kinds of questions you might get asked are very similar as well. So it'd be to explain two religious beliefs about something, for instance here, two Muslim beliefs about the nature of God, it will always be to explain two. It might be beliefs, might be teachings, approaches, but you're going to get your 2 marks for one detailed explanation of a relevant and accurate belief, in this case, or teaching, and then you're going to get your second lot of 2 marks for another detailed explanation of a relevant and accurate belief or teaching. And then, as you know, as you guys are very confident in doing, you get your 5th mark for a relevant and accurate reference to a sacred writing. So reference in the Quran, reference in the Bible, word for word quoting it. Remember, you have to say in the Bible it says that, or in the Quran it says that, and have your quote. Or you might want to, you can summarize the teaching. So you can say in the Bible it teaches that, and then you can summarize the teaching if you can't remember it word for word. Or you can reference a particular story or teaching from the Bible, such as, the parable of the Good Samaritan, or the story of the life of Adam from the Quran, or the life of Ibrahim from the Quran, for instance. You can reference the stories as well, and they count to get your 5th mark. So here I've given you a breakdown of where you might be awarded points, how you could be awarded points for the 12-mark question. So I recommend you guys taking a screenshot of that and having that at hand if you're going to write or self-mark a 12-mark question. So you'll notice that from 0 to 6, point 0 to 6, there's either very little explanation, so you may have even 3 or 4 points, but there's very little explanation. They're mainly kind of listed points, or there's no reference to religion. So if you're writing a paper 2 question and you're not referencing religion, you cannot get above a 6. So you'll notice that the more the more well explained your points are, the further up from 7 to 12 you'll be. And we're looking at 2 well explained points on both sides, 3 well explained points with examples, with religious responses, to be in that kind of 10 to 12 category. Okay. Again, if you're not sure, just send your answers to your teacher and they will mark it for you. And that's the official exam criteria. It's split into levels, and you can see the kinds of words they're looking at for level 4, level 5. Reasoned consideration of different points of view. So you're considering different points of view rather than just describing them on different sides. You're clearly referring to religion, or detailed references to religion applied to the issue. To be in that level 4, you have a logical chain of reasoning. So lots of back and forth arguments leading to a judgment, so that final conclusion that sums up your points of view, supported by knowledge and understanding. So that's what the examiner is looking for a level 4. Again, if you're not sure what that means precisely, send your 12-mark question to your teacher to get it marked instead. Okay, so coming back to the revision schedule then. So you've had to go answer an exam question off the bat, no notes, and you've attempted to mark it yourself, or you sent it to your teacher. So then you're going to go to then you're going to plan out what you're going to revise in this session, the session that you're doing today. So you're going to take your PLC booklet that you've got in front of you with the PLCs, the learning checklists from all of the 8 units, and you're going to pick the topic that you're going to go through today. So whether that's perhaps Christian practices, theme A, for instance. So then you would go through your PLC for that unit. You'd rank your understanding for each parts of that unit. So whether it's a green smiley face, whether it's a straight face yellow, or it's a red face, I'm really unsure about this. And then you'd use that PLC sheet as the basis for targeting your revision. So okay, right, I've identified the 3 areas, or the 2 areas within this unit that I need to focus on revising today. So then you would spend the next 20 minutes revising the content that you highlighted. 20 minutes is of solid revision without a break. That's a good amount of time. So this is where you're making your notes. You've got your revision guide open in front of you. You're making bullet point notes, or you're writing a mind map. or drawing a flow chart. You're taking the information from the textbook and putting it into your own words. Okay, so this is your revision. You're making yourself more confident on those areas that you identified as being weak. So you spend 20 minutes looking through the textbook, making all the notes that you need to make. Then you put that to one side and you take the next 10 minutes to do the next task from memory. So then you put all your notes that you've made, close your textbook, put all your notes to the side, and then from memory, turn that content into a new resource. So this is where you try and create a new resource, new revision resource for yourself, or have a go at applying it to an exam question from memory. So you're trying to use the revision that you just did, the content that you just learned in the previous 20 minutes to create a new resource, to do a new task, or to answer an exam question. And once I finish talking you through this, I'm going to tell you some of those examples of activities you could have a go at. So then you spend 10 minutes doing that until you've completely kind of run out of ideas. You can't remember anything else. You've got everything you can think of on paper. So you've reused that information. That's the important bit. You've reused that information. So then if you can, after you've done that, you do 5 minutes, quiz yourself or get someone else to quiz you, perhaps a friend or a parent, or go and show my homework and do a quiz on there. And then your final 2 minutes is you go back to that PLC that you ranked your understanding of that particular topic, and you review it, reassess yourself. Can you move any of those, any of your scores up? Do they go from a red face to a green face, for instance? So that is then you know that you've made progress. You know that you've highlighted areas to improve, and you've improved them. So that's the kind of key part to that. And then obviously in your next session, you do the same process. You then start with an exam question on the topic that you just revised, that you spent 20 minutes plus 10 minutes revising. Then you try and mark your answer, and then you pick a new topic to revise from, and then you do the process again. So this is a really good way of framing your revision, really good process to go through every time. And you'll notice that your revision links together, because then you do an exam question the following time. Okay, so really good process to go through. So a good idea, perhaps take a screenshot of that, have that as your process to go through for your revision. So the last thing I said I was going to share is that lots of ideas for that transform part, that last 10 minutes where you take the information that you've learnt and from memory, if you can, turn it into a new resource. So the kinds of things you could do. You could create yourself a mind map, a new mind map. You might want to color code it. You might want to put keywords in one color, other areas in other colors. You might want to put emojis and pictures around your mind map. So this is a mind map from memory rather than a mind map from the textbook, from using the revision guide. And you may want to fill in the mind maps that are on Show My Homework, the ones we've gone through. You may want to print one of them off from scratch and try and fill it in again, perhaps. You could make yourself revision cards. Remember, these are things to do from scratch in the last 10 minutes of your revision session. Once you've spent 20 minutes going through the information from the textbook, from the revision guide, you then try and do these from memory. So you could make revision cards, flashcards, key points or bullet points. You could draw yourself a timeline, or for instance, if it's talking about revising laws, for instance, on the changes in marriage from theme A, or the changing attitudes to marriage or divorce or homosexuality, or the rates of divorce over time, then you might want to set yourself a timeline, try and write that down from memory, or try and do a timeline with religious views, how they've kind of come into play. Or maybe it's a timeline of religious events, life of the Jesus perhaps, religious events, or life of Muhammad, life of Ibrahim, events within their lives, and how they perhaps then link to other units. So that could be useful. You could do yourself a double bubble map with similarities and differences. So you could have your main topic in the middle, perhaps use and abuse of animals, and then Christianity on one side, Islam on the other side, and try and draw out the similarities and differences between their views on the topic in the middle. So you put similarities in with the lines that connect all the ones together, and the differences with the unique lines. That could be something to have a go at. And obviously color code them. You could do an infographic, so key points in bold writing and then little pictures to illustrate it. Like this one here on divorce, for instance. You could do yourself image notes, quite similar to an infographic. Speech bubbles, little pictures to go with it, as much information as you can think of on that page, with pictures around it, coloured writing, key points, quotes, etc. Images and notes combined. You might want to make yourself one of those types of worksheets. You might want to do a list. Try and list, from memory, can I now list 10 things I know about the life of Jesus? Can I list 10 things I know about the life of Ibrahim, the life of Muhammad, the life of Adam, the role of angels, for instance? Can I list, 8, 10, 12 things that I know now about a certain topic? Can I make myself a simple revision booklet, perhaps? Or a booklet of questions I've had a go at. Then that leads us nicely on to the next one. We plan exam questions. So set yourself a question and from memory, try and plan your agree-disagree points. So particularly these are 12-mark question statements. You would then try and plan that question. In the 10 minutes you've got there to do these things from memory, have a go at that. Obviously, you can instead answer a past paper question. Now, I've sent you guys an email with all the past paper questions for every unit for all of the topics, and I've highlighted in green the topics that will definitely be coming up in the exam this year because the exam board has told us, and I've highlighted in yellow topics which are related and which are still useful to know. But the green is obviously the areas which you must know, you must be really clear on, because they're the ones that are definitely going to come up. So you can pick one of those questions and have a go at it, answering a past paper question. Create yourself, little revision techniques like mnemonics to learn a particular word, or to remember certain things. You might want to, put the word Muhammad and try and do a mnemonic with different things about the life of Muhammad or how it applies to other areas of, Islam beliefs or Islam practices. You might want to do something like zakat or hajj or pilgrimage, because those things are definitely going to come up on the exam. So create yourself little mnemonics for those long words that help you remember some of the extra information and how to apply that information to particular questions. Could be something like a brain dump, where you put yourself a timer and you write for 2 minutes continuously about that certain area. So now, can I write for 2 minutes about Christian views on divorce, for instance? And then you have a go. Set yourself a timer, see how long you can write for. Obviously, try not to repeat yourself. Maybe something like that, if that works for you. Maybe it's to make lots of post-it notes. Put them around your room, around your study space, so that next time you come to do your revision, you've got them there ready for you. And then obviously they're also quite a good resource to make quizzes from, aren't they? Because you can hide them and cover them up and flip them over. So post-its are quite a good revision resource. But remember, this is the task where we're making them from memory. Okay, so the post-it notes we're making them from memory. So those are just some ideas of the activities that you could have a go at in that transform 10 minutes, where you transform your notes that you've made from the revision guide from memory into a new revision resource, or you have a go at answering or planning an exam question. So there's the outline of the revision session, revision schedule, that I would recommend that you guys have a go at using for your own independent revision. So I hope that helps, and I hope that answers some of your questions. And good luck, guys. Good luck. And obviously send any questions, any answers, or any questions you have to your teacher for feedback or just for more information.